Hello, welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space in my backyard. So tonight I figured I would take you on a garden tour of the fall garden. There's still some summer left, of course, but the fall garden is planted aside from the onions, which I need to plant in the bricks, which I'm gonna do from seed. I think I still have time. But we're gonna go on a garden tour. I'm so excited, y'all. I cannot wait to harvest some greens, some collards, some kale, some kohlrabi. So let's go ahead and get right on into this because it is late. That's dead. It is always dead. We're gonna go ahead and get into the garden tour because I'm hopeful that I can get all the way through it tonight and get it up for you. Also, thank you to everyone who has hung in there with me over the last probably month, and there's so many new viewers. Hello to all of you, because work has been wild and crazy. I'm trying to get back to my Wednesday videos. I post on Wednesdays and I post on Saturdays. So let's go ahead and get into this garden tour, y'all. Okay, so the loofah are still loofahing. There's some new ones growing in too. Pretty excited about that. There's one down here too. So there's new loofah growing. We have more flowers still. Oh, well, that was a flower. The wormwood that I did nothing with is still growing, so I'm letting it grow. Not sure if it's perennial or not. I need to look that up. But it didn't do anything with that wormwood this year. Like I said, I am growing a whole lot of medicinal plants that I need to figure out what I'm supposed to do with them. But you know what? We're just gonna let it grow and have fun while we do that. Trombosino squash is starting to send out squash again. The plant is still looking really good at the ends. Like, look at this one. That's giving out a whole bunch of trombosino squash, so I'm very excited about that. I only got 2 so far this year, but I'm thinking that I'm gonna get a fall harvest of trombosino squash. Very excited about that. There's one in the house on the counter that I need to cook. I was gonna cook it with Sunday dinner, but I just didn't. So right beside that trellis you have collards and kale, and so I did the collards and kale in this area because collards and kale both can withstand like some pretty cold temperatures, and I don't cover this area right now. Like, I don't have a way to, aside from like frost blankets. I know that collards and kale can live in pretty cold temperatures, so when I planted over here I said I need to plant stuff that's gonna be able to sustain like low temperatures, and so that's why the collards and kale are over here right beside the trellis when you come into the garden. I cannot wait for it to get like super bushy, and like I just cannot wait. I do like the fall garden. It is normally, I think there's a spider web on me. I'm pretty sure there's a spider web on me. So I like that it gets bushy and stuff. It's always very green, but that's also why I put Swiss chard in. Like, aside from loving the taste of it, I also like that it gives the garden a little bit of color in the fall. So I ended up moving all of the empty bags except for down at the end. Those are potatoes, and listen, they look very spindly. I do think it's because I planted potatoes that had sprouted, like long sprouts, and I knew it when I did it that I probably shouldn't, but I did it anyway. And these were eaten by hornworms, so we're just letting them do what they do and we'll see what happens. But yeah, all of the empty bags are in the walkway, so now I don't have to worry about hitting something and breaking something because we moved all of the peppers over here and they are doing so much better. Y'all see, it's a bunch of new flowers all over it. When they were in the walkway, like, they got so much sun all day long, and so I decided that in my last video, I think, yes, my last video, I decided to move them to a spot. So these are all peppers. Those are peppers over there as well. I decided to move them so they wouldn't be in direct sun and wouldn't dry out so much, and that is proven to have been a great idea because I harvest peppers, 2 or 3 days ago, and then there's still so many peppers still on these plants. So I'm very excited. I'm happy that I did that. Oh, by the way, I have tomatoes. So looky here. It was a paste variety, But yeah, I have a good amount of paste tomatoes growing over here. So I don't normally have a lot of tomatoes at this time of the year because it gets super hot here, it gets super humid here, and I just don't normally have a lot of tomatoes. So I'm very happy to have those. And those were tomatoes that came out of the compost pile. I took them out of the compost pile and moved them over here. And then I believe this is a sucker, and it is flowering. I do think I saw one tomato, a small tomato on there. So I'm excited about it. You know, to still have tomatoes at this time of year, that's pretty cool. Right beside the pepper plants that we moved here, this is a bed of, I believe, yeah, these are Georgia collards, and then these are 2 cabbages, and then I had this volunteer basil, so I just left it there. Also, look, nasturtiums are volunteering in this bed. The other thing I did, because I'm horrible at growing beets, instead of taking up like a big space, I kind of put them in between each plant. So you got some beets here, you got beets here, and then I did beets all the way around the front of the bed too, and on this side. So we have germination. Pretty excited about that. You know, the other thing that I'm pretty excited about is I have not hand watered this garden, and I don't know how long. It has been a while because I got a sprinkler. I had a sprinkler that I have never used, with the paper and everything still on the sprinkler. And I think I might have said it over on Instagram. Broke Farmer did a video, and he was setting up an irrigation system or watering system. And it was a sprinkler, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is perfect, because fall plants don't mind if there's water on them. So I pulled out that sprinkler, and I have not hand watered this garden one time since I put in the fall plants. So excited. So right behind this bed that we just talked about are the strawberries. They are still, you know, green and lush, but they're not producing any strawberries right now. We got some weeds growing up in it, so I need to go through here and take out runners, you know, space them out again, but they still look really good. So strawberries are perennial. Later on this year, I'll space them out, pull out runners that rooted themselves, and then I'll just kind of cut them down. In the spring, they'll start to grow again, and then we'll have strawberries again. And the runners, you can take them, plant them somewhere else, and they will grow a whole additional strawberry plant for you. So if you have strawberries and you have runners and you're making space and you have space to put them somewhere else, don't throw the runners away. Just plant them somewhere else, and in spring you'll have more strawberries. So beside the strawberry plants are still more pepper plants that are still producing. Look at that. They're still producing. These are some that were in the walkway as well. And so I just moved them over here. There were tomatoes here, also tomatoes there. So once the tomatoes died, the bags were empty, I had pulled them, I just moved these. Also, that is a volunteer basil. It looks amazing. Let me walk around there. Look how nice that basil looks. I did not plant it. Don't really know, you know, where the seed came from, but it looks so good. And this is another one that also volunteered. They actually volunteered in the bags with some tomatoes, and I just left them. And they look amazing. So I'm excited about that. Other thing are the sweet potatoes. Still looking good. You know, they have a little pest pressure at this point. And a few people ask me over on Instagram, like, when do I plan to harvest these? I won't be harvesting them until like first frost. Unless like they start to die back or something, I don't plan to harvest them until we're gonna have our first frost. So this bed is gonna be used for garlic. It's where I planted my garlic last year, and way too early. But we're gonna plant the garlic back here this year. We're gonna amend the bed and replant once we harvest those sweet potatoes. This is a Vigo garden bed that I have them in. And I know someone asked, like, does the bed warm the plants too much? I have grown for a whole year now in this bed. I have had no problems with it. Sweet potatoes do like, you know, the heat and the sun and stuff. So that may be a thing, but I also grew my garlic in it, and it did not, you know, fry the garlic or anything. So if you're thinking about a Vigo garden bed, I think there may be a link to a discount code, but if not, you know, but if you are thinking about it, I grew in it, 2 of them, and they grew just fine. Right down here beside the sweet potatoes is the lemon balm that absolutely needs to be harvested so it can grow a little bit more. And there is some comfrey still in the pot. The mint that's over here is looking a little straggly, but mint is also perennial, and you know, it'll come back next year as well. So if you are new to gardening and you don't have a lot of space, do not plant mint in the ground or in a garden bed. It will take all the way over. That's why I have my mint in pots. It's gonna come back, but I don't want it to take over a whole garden bed because I don't have a lot of space. So if you're new, do not plant your mint in a bed or in the ground. It's gonna take over. Over here is the hyssop that I never actually harvested, but it seems like flowers are trying to grow again. So I'm leaving that to see what happens. But hyssop is a very pretty plant, and it flowered beautifully all season long, and the bees loved it. We have marshmallow over here, which I did cut back, but I don't see that it's creating any more flowers, so that's fine. And right down here we have feverfew that needs to be harvested, but I haven't gotten a chance to come out here and harvest that either. Going back to the middle bed, of course, these are the blueberry bushes, no longer, you know, producing blueberries. They start in the spring and you'll start harvesting them sometime in the summer, but they're still here, still looking good, still green. But something I am super excited about, if you've been here for a while, you know I don't do well direct sowing, and so I do think using that sprinkler has helped me out tremendously, because guess what, I direct sowed a lot of things and a lot of them are coming up, including my carrots in a bed, not in a bag, in a bed. I'm about to show you. Okay, so this bed is pretty much full of radishes, rutabagas, turnips, carrots, parsnips are in here, but they've germinated. So I'm not sure what was here, but something is germinating. But I honestly think that's a nasturtium, because I had nasturtium right here. I think this may be like turnips, but I'm not seeing any germination just yet. Back there is also turnips. These are radishes. All of these I think are radishes. There may be rutabaga in there, but look at those carrots coming up. I did not cover them with a board. I didn't cover them with anything. I just made sure the soil stayed wet, and look at that. We got carrots, and then we got radishes all the way down here as well. So super excited about that. And I will have to thin those. I will. But once they start to grow, that's when I will worry about thinning them, because right now I just want them to start growing. Thinning is when you start to pull out or clip at the root the extra plants, because you don't want too many plants growing close to each other, or you're not going to get the harvest that you're expecting. And you may get a harvest, but they may be small. So I'm going to, like I said, thin them once, you know, things start growing well. The asparagus is starting to die back, and I'm just going to let it. Once it dies back, I'll cut it down, and then I'm gonna leave the ferns just laid on the soil. I do that every year, and so the red balls on them right here, those are seeds. So I honestly don't harvest them. I have asparagus seeds in the house, so I have seeds to plant. And asparagus seeds are very small, so I don't harvest them, but I will leave them. They may grow a new plant, they may not. I normally pull the new ones because I don't have enough space for it, unless of course, like I said, I extend the garden out a little bit, and that would be next year if I did do that. The bed right across from the asparagus has been planted, and so my Swiss chard looks terrible right here, but I have Swiss chard other places. There was one right here. It's still there, but it is struggling. The leeks right here are still doing good. These leeks have been in since, like, I think early spring. So I'm just leaving them. I probably should pull them. I don't know, but I'm gonna leave them, see what happens. They're still growing, still looking good, so I'm gonna leave them. Right behind the Swiss chard is kohlrabi, and then you have broccoli over here. I think all 6 of those are broccoli. If you remember, I said I wanted a lot of broccoli this year because I want to be able to put some up, you know, for the summertime. So I have lots of broccoli plants in this garden. Back here is a cabbage. This is a Georgia collard. Those are cabbages all the way in the back. And like I said, these are all broccoli. I also planted beets in here, in between the other plants. Now, I don't know what kind of beets these are. They should be beets, but they do not look like beets. So we're gonna find out what they are soon. It might have been like a different variety beet. I'm not sure, but it should be beets. I tried to put beets in places where, you know, it wouldn't take up a lot of space and I could still grow something else, because I don't want to take up a big space for beets that I never grow well. In the next bed, now these were planted out earlier than those. I think these have been in the bed for maybe a week and a half at the most. These have been planted out maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not sure. It was 1st of September. I will tell you that, like 2nd week of September. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these have been a week and these have been 2 weeks. Anywho, this is all kohlrabi in the front. I believe this is cabbage back here. These may be greens. That's broccoli. And then you have kale in the back. So this bed is looking really good to me. Like, I like when it starts to look like it's being established. And these plants look very, very established. I'm waiting for this bed to start looking established. So here's the thing. I did buy starts this year because I could not get my seedlings. I couldn't take care of my seedlings that I started in the house. So these are all starts from my local feed and seed store. And then, of course, I direct sowed some seeds. I'm going to direct sow some Lacinato kale now that I know, like with the sprinkler, I can do this because I really want some, and my local feed and seed store didn't have any. So we still have cantaloupe on the trellis. We're just waiting for it to be ready to harvest, and then I'm gonna pull everything off of this trellis as well. My daughter ate the other one and she said it was pretty sweet, so I was excited to hear that. She loves cantaloupe, and so I always try to grow it for her because she absolutely loves it. When I go to the grocery store, she's like, "Can you give me a cantaloupe?" And I never even think about it because I don't eat it. So one of the good things about growing in your backyard. That trellis where we did have cantaloupe, and I made a mistake, y'all, and pulled out my blue butterfly peas. I was so sad. But we've cleared that trellis, and look at the Roselle over here. OMG. And there's 3 in this small space. And so, you probably remember me saying that I thought that like it wasn't getting enough sun, but actually these were planted out later than the ones that were in the bed, and that's why they weren't producing. Look at this. Look at those Roselle. They are doing so well. So this is 3 plants, still growing, still producing in September. And I'm guessing they were out like late May, because I planted out these beds in early May. So I'm guessing I planted those out in like late May. So they're still growing. I still haven't tried them, but I cannot wait to try some Roselle tea. In the bed that had like peppers up here, these are the peppers. We went ahead and moved them into bags. They're getting established, but they're still looking a little bit limp. And I know people say take the pepper off. I do not. And I didn't do it over here either. And this one is looking even better, but look at that. So I definitely transplanted them. I left all the fruit that was on them on there. And they're still working to get established, yes. It may take them a little bit longer, but these plants don't owe me anything, if I'm honest. So if they were to die, I wouldn't be upset. But anyway, back to this bed. We have kohlrabi in the front. We have Swiss chard. I believe this is all broccoli. Back here, that's all broccoli. And then this is cabbage. Got a little bit of pest on here. Let's pull that off. So normally you would find a worm. I don't see one. I don't know. It ate it and it's gone now. And yes, I just threw it back in the bed. Not always the best thing to do, especially if you have slugs and snails and things like that, because having it on the soil kind of brings their attention to it. I did it anyway. The potatoes back here look pretty much like the potatoes that's in the bags, but not as spindly. But either way, we're gonna leave them because I'm honestly not sure what I'm gonna put in that bed anyway. So we'll just leave them. The beans on this trellis is still growing. Like the bean plant is still growing. So next year I'm definitely going to look into planting more beans on the trellises as they die out, because they're still producing. And I'm gonna show you something. It's kind of like throwing food away, but it's also giving back to the garden, because I miss them, but I didn't want them to go to seed on this plant, because then they would, the plant possibly could have stopped producing. So I don't feed beans to my chickens. I think I read somewhere that you shouldn't, or you shouldn't feed them a lot. So I don't. I could put them in the compost pile, but I need to flip the compost pile. So I'm not adding anything to it at this moment until I flip it. But anyway, let me just show you. These are all the beans this week that I did not catch because I work a full-time job. But also down here are, I want to say these are Georgia collards too. I want lots of collards. I want to be able to give some to family this year too. So there's Georgia collards down here. On the other side are more sweet potatoes. So these are growing really well too. So I took 2 spots for sweet potatoes this year. Nothing was really growing well back here because it was quite shaded and it stayed very moist. Sweet potatoes do like to be moist, and so they're doing really well. And I was digging down in these the other day and one was a sacrifice. So they are growing. I'm very excited about that. But yeah, so we still have sweet potatoes on this trellis, and we have also planted some collards up under it. Over here, we have more Swiss chard. It's getting dark, but we have more Swiss chard. I also still have a tomato plant that's trying to grow, so I'm just kind of letting it go up the trellis. It fell back. And this is also another tomato plant. I don't think we'll get anything off of this one. We may get something off of this. The artichokes are finally not looking super parched. They're looking nice and green, and they're trying to grow back. Artichokes like cooler weather. I'm surprised that they survived through the summer. I'm guessing because there's a bit of shade over here, but also there are some more collards back here too. So let's see, we have a few peppers left. I'm gonna show you those. We also pulled out everything in this absolutely hideous flower bed. I'm gonna get some snapdragons. I probably could just throw some snapdragon seeds down at this point. They like cool weather. They would probably germinate out here, which that's what I might do because I saved a lot of snapdragon seeds this year. Oh, and I'm gonna get some pansies because they're pretty. So I need to clean my gutters. So this that you're seeing where there is no dirt, my gutters, my water was coming over the side of the gutter, and so now we have to refill that in, which I may honestly fill it in with the chicken bedding, because if the flowers burn, which I don't think they will, that's not a huge loss. But also, I have the chicken, when I say chicken bedding, I mean that's in the run and it started breaking down already. So I may do that and just throw that in here. But I'm gonna put some snapdragons in here. I'm gonna put some pansies in here, and they should grow, or at least the plant should stay alive all the way through winter. Pansies, you're gonna have flowers all winter. Like that's a flower that if you want flowers in your winter garden, get a pansy. And there's another one that looks like a pansy, but I cannot think of the name. You can say it in the comments. I know you know what I'm talking about. I just can't think of it. Also, people have been asking about the rain barrel. The rain barrel is gone. I have, however, went ahead and gotten the bricks, the paver stones for it, because I am going to purchase another one. I am positive that it did not work for me because I did not do what I should have done from the beginning. And honestly, until I did that, I should have taken it down. But it did split because it was not level. So what I want you to take away from this is it did fill up, but it wasn't level so it fell over and it ended up splitting. So like I said, I'm gonna buy a new one because I definitely think it's gonna work. And so the peppers back here are still growing, still producing peppers. These were in the walkway as well, and so they are still producing. So some of them we put on the other side. These are in more sun than the others, but they're still producing. We got us a spider who decided to make his home here, and so I let him stay. Yeah, there we go. My camera would not focus, but we let him stay. They're everywhere, like I said, though. And I had gotten some shishito peppers off here the other night, and I ate them, but they're still growing really well. And guess what else I harvested the other day? I harvested grapes. They were delicious, muscadine grapes. And you remember I had like folded them over top of each other this year because they were just, well, on top of themselves, because they were just like all over the place. They still produce. Maybe they would have produced more. Not maybe. They probably definitely would have produced more if I had not done that. But I did, and I still got a grape harvest out of it. And last but not least, because it is getting dark, I want to show you the ginger. I'm so excited about this ginger. I cannot wait to harvest the ginger. I'm still leaving it. We talked about it on the live the other night. I'm just gonna leave it, but it is growing. I'm super excited. So look, I'm gonna dig down. I hope y'all can see, because it, like I said, it's getting dark. You see that? The ginger is growing, y'all. I'm so excited. Super duper excited about that. This is my first time growing ginger, and it grew. So that's the quick garden tour, fall garden tour in September. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to visit me over on Instagram, where I post about the things going on in the garden almost every day. Bye, y'all.